In this video, we'll show you how to change the water pump on your Ford F-150. You can find it on CarParts.com via the link in the description. For safety reasons, we advise you to disconnect the battery. To do so, we recommend watching the video, How to Replace the Ford F-150 Car Battery. In order to change the water pump, it is necessary to carry out a complete bleed of your cooling system. To do this, we recommend that you watch our video, How to Perform a Coolant Flush on a Ford F-150. In order to access your water pump, it is necessary to remove certain elements. Using a ratchet, an extender, and a 7mm socket, loosen the holding clip for the air intake duct on the airbox. Then, shift the duct. Then, from the wheel arch, unscrew the duct lower holding clamp. You can use a large extender. Then, take out the duct. Protect the entrance to the air system by plugging it with a cloth to prevent impurities from polluting the circuit. Then, fasten it with a zip tie. Using a breaker bar and a 15mm socket, loosen the belt by turning the serpentine belt tensioner clockwise. Meanwhile, remove the serpentine belt from the idler pulley. Using a ratchet, an extender, and an 8mm socket, loosen the holding clip for the thermostat housing cover. Then remove the hose. Using the same tools, loosen the retaining ring of the second hose. Then remove the hose. To access the water pump retaining bolts, you need to remove the water pump pulley. Using a ratchet and a 10mm socket, unscrew the first two pulley retaining bolts. Restrict the rotation of the pulley using a ratchet, an extender, and a 10mm socket. The water pump is equipped with a slot that allows you to insert a pin punch to block the rotation of the pulley bracket. Insert the pin punch. Finish unscrewing the water pump pulley. Then remove it. In order to remove the water pump, you will need to remove the 8 pump retaining bolts using a ratchet, an extender, an 8mm socket, and a 10mm socket. You can see in these images the various sockets to be used depending on the bolts holding the water pump. The water pump is now free. Be careful when removing it. Coolant remaining in the circuit will flow. Remember to position a liquid collector and a cloth under the pump, since fluid may leak out. However, it is often difficult to remove. You can use a hammer to help you. Remove the water pump.
For great content, our best price, and fast shipping, download the CarParts.com app now.
Remove the used gasket. You can use a hook. Protect the cooling circuit by plugging it with a cloth to prevent impurities from polluting the circuit. To avoid any risk of leaks, clean the water pump gasket surface thoroughly with an abrasive sponge. Finish with brake cleaner and wipe it with a cloth. You can order the water pump used in the video on CarParts.com via the link in the description. Get the new gaskets and soak them in the coolant. Put the gaskets back in place. Get the new water pump. Everyone's natural reflex is to take the water pump in hand and turn the pump pulley to check that this element is rotating correctly. But this is a serious mistake that can irreversibly damage the water pump. You need to immerse the pump in coolant and to turn it around 10 times. This prevents subsequent leaks, as the pump must never run dry. Pay attention to the pins, which allows it to be correctly positioned. Put it back in its place. Then screw the bolts back in roughly by hand. Final tightening of the bolts is applied using a torque wrench. Follow the tightening sequence shown in the video. Replace the water pump pulley. Start screwing by hand, then with the ratchets. Reconnect the hoses. Then screw the hose clamps back on. Take the serpentine belt. Pay careful attention to which way up you use it. The writing on the belt must turn clockwise. You can now put the serpentine belt back in place. Slide the new belt around the different elements, respecting the layout from the initial assembly. To finally put it back in place, lift the serpentine belt tensioner in order to wind the serpentine belt onto all of the pulleys. Then release the belt tensioner to fully extend the belt. Finish tightening the water pump pulley using a torque wrench. Replace the air intake duct. Remove the cloth. Then screw the hose clamps back on. Now you need to refill the radiator with coolant and purge any air from the circuit. To do this, we recommend that you watch our video, How to Perform a Coolant Flush on a Ford F-150. Reconnect the battery. Operation complete.
Quality parts, priced right, CarParts.com.